How's it going, everybody? Doing Gumchewing Whispering original Xbox game collection video here today. I believe I have 5 more games than the last time I did. I think I had done one in October, so not that long, but I like doing the collection vids, so I think I'm up to 41. This is a collection I want to continue to kind of move with out of a lot of the... It's weird calling the Xbox, PS2, and GameCube retro, but they are now pretty much, right? In my mind, it's still like Nintendo 64 and before that, but I always like this system. I'll talk about it more in my next unpopular opinions vid. But yeah, the first one is Haunted Mansion. I picked this up because I saw it on Luke Morris One's channel a couple of years ago, and it actually looked kind of cool. And I picked it up from one of the I think it was I didn't get this off eBay, I don't think. Maybe I did. I thought I'd gotten it at maybe East End Gaming, but it's obviously based on the ride first movie, whatever. It's not like fully based on it. You play as Zeke Holloway. But it's funny, after seeing that other one, the kind of redo, the live action, no, it wasn't a live, the first one was live action too with Eddie Murphy, duh, that remake, or whatever, I was like, oh, some of these places kind of look familiar, but it's a cool game. You have to like collect the spirits, kind of like the movie, I guess, and yeah, you have to release the 999 Trezels. The boss fights in this game are actually pretty unique. They're actually kind of cool. I remember when I had to like do a certain trail, this stuff, I think, so that it would catch on fire and hit the enemy, the boss. When you collect more things, you're able to go to different rooms and stuff. Actually, it looks pretty decent as well. I think I got up to the cemetery. I was in the cemetery last I played it. Oh yeah, that's right. That boss fight in the top. That was like, I think like she was either wind was hitting you from the organ pipes, and you had to like figure out a way to make your way up to her. I said the boss fights are actually pretty cool. The ones I played. Midway Arcade Treasures. So this has classic games from Midway Arcade: Spy Hunter, Spy Hunter, Marble Madness, Root Beer Tapper, Rampart Blaster, Smash TV, Paperboy, Rampage, Joust, Gauntlet, and a bunch more. If you were playing games back then, or even 10, 15 years after, I mean, they still make some of these games. Maybe not in a bit, but like Spy Hunter has been around for about a while. I mean, maybe not that many of them, actually. I take that back. Gauntlet still bounces around, right? Did a gameplay on this one, Simpsons Road Rage. It's a cool, crazy taxi clone. With Simpsons characters. There are glitches in this game. Your car will just get like stuck in the environment, stuff like that. And while it still looks nice graphically, and the gameplay is fine, all the actual voice actors do the voices in this, but the problem is they say the same lines repeatedly, and it actually gets annoying pretty quickly. But still fun. If you like Crazy Taxi, you're gonna like this. I mean, if you like The Simpsons, you're gonna like it. If you don't like The Simpsons, you probably won't. Gun. This is actually made by the guys who made the Tony Hawk games. This is some Western remember I played some of it back in the day. It's just like an open worldy Western game. Similar to at least back then, similar to like Red Dead Revolver. Yeah. This was a late era title too, because this was on the 360 as well. It was not on the, it might have came out in '05 actually. Yes, it did. Because when they were like comparing graphically like that one to the 360, like you could tell the 360 looked better, but at that point, you were like, there's not a big difference. And then certain games came out, like Elder Scrolls, and even Condemned, when that was a launch title, some of the launch titles. You could tell, but Elder Scrolls Oblivion was like the first where I was like, okay, and then Gears of War, I was really like, okay. Now we're talking. Dead to Rights. I've talked about this a ton. I love Dead to Rights, it's a great game. It's similar to Max Payne. It steals the Max Payne slow motion, but in my opinion, not from a story standpoint, but from an action standpoint, this game is better than Max Payne's, in my opinion. He plays Jack Slade here. His dad gets killed. You get framed, I think, for his murder, actually. And everybody's out to get you. The cops, the freaking mob, everybody else. This is another game with cool boss battles. I talked about the boss battles in the past. I'm not going to continue. But they are cool. It's just when you get used to the controls, because you have your dog Shadow with you too, and Shadow you can send out, and the dog will disarm enemies, bring the gun back to you. You can perform disarm moves, you do your slow motion dives. When you start to get like the hang of everything, you're just like slow motion dive, boom, 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 sending Shadow out to kill somebody, disarming people. And this game throws enemies at you like crazy. You end up at a prison one point where you're doing stuff for people, like getting cigarettes and shit. Then you break out of prison. It's an awesome game, and they made the second one. It was not nearly as good, and the other one that came out in 360 and PS3, I think it was called Retribution, was actually pretty decent, but neither of them touched this one. Lord of the Rings: The Third Age. It's turn-based RPG in the Lord of the Rings universe. It's a cool game. If you like turn-based RPGs like Final Fantasy and stuff, well, older Final Fantasy, because they're going more to the different combat system now, the more action run-around combat sequences. Combat system now, I should say. You'll enjoy this. You play as random people, and you come across the actual people from the movies. Like, it's a little dumb. Like, you're fighting alongside Gandalf when he fights the Balrog, you know, it's just like stupid shit like that they throw in that takes you out of the things, but if you're just enjoying it for a game, it's still really, really cool. Serious Sam 2. Just a goofy first-person shooter that's over-the-top ridiculous. Big guns. It says here, big guns, weirder enemies. The enemies are crazy in this game. The cool design. They're constant. This is like Dead to Rights, amped up. They're just coming at you endlessly in these games. But it's fun, and it actually is. It's like a colorful, graphic game. Let me serious, Sam. The character, some of the dialogue and the comedy is extremely cheesy and cringy, as they say, but some of it can be funny. Most of the time, you're not even paying attention to what he's saying, though, because you have so many enemies coming at you that you don't even have time to. Here comes the Bond portion of the video. Agent Under Fire, this was the first one released in this era of consoles. It's a solid shooter. I think I did a gameplay of this one. This did have multiplayer in it. I don't remember ever playing it. But the first person game was cool. I don't remember a ton of it though, but I did enjoy it. There's driving missions and stuff, and it's standard Bond fare. But it's a solid title. There's Nightfire. I'm pretty sure I did a gameplay on this one as well, but it was on the PS2. This is a recent pickup, obviously. I did a video of it. This one uses Pierce Brosnan's likeness, but not his voice yet. I don't know if I played some of the multiplayer on this one, or if it was Agent Under Fire, because I only played against bots. Because you could use bots, which is kind of cool. Same thing, though. This is the one where you end up in space at the end, I believe. Space mission. But same thing, on foot missions, most of the time. First person on foot missions, and there's some driving stuff in there as well. Very similar to the other one, but I think this one's a little better. GoldenEye Rogue Agent. This is where you're playing a former MI6 agent, and mission goes wrong. You leave, and your eye gets messed up, so you get a golden eye, and you meet up with a lot of the enemies from the friggin' Bond series over the course of the game. I played some of it. It was very basic, like corridor shooter type. It was not nearly as good as the other two first-person shooters, Age Under Fire and Nightfire. Everything or nothing. So now this is in third person, and you've got Pierce Brosnan as the voice and the likeness, and you've got John Gleason here as Q. At this point in the games, because the other guy played Q the whole time, and then John Cleese appeared, and he was like his understudy type. I'm pretty sure in the movies, and then Judi Dench is here as them as well. Defoe is in here, Shannon Elizabeth, Richard Keel. He's playing Jaws. That's what his part was in the movie, and you have other known people in here, Heidi Klum, Maya. Really cool game. Like, they did a great job with this one in third person. It really kind of took the franchise to kind of new heights briefly. It was extremely fun. It's one I have not played through in a long time. This is my latest pickup from Russia with Love. This one came in 05, I think, so this is a late era title here. And you actually have Sean Connery doing the voice. Pretty much playing through the movie. So this is interesting because it's got Robert Shaw in here and other people that I assume are still alive when this is made. And this had multiplayer in it too. This is also third person. And this game supposedly, like I said, I haven't put it in yet. I've watched videos of it, and it looked cool, but like graphically it looks really nice. I'm actually excited to give this one a play. I'm pretty sure that's all the Bonds that were released on the system. On the Xbox, at least. Quantum of Solace came to the PS2. Carmen Sandiego, Secret of Stolen Drums. I bought this. I have not played it yet. I bought this because it's Carmen Sandiego, and I love Carmen Sandiego. Reviewed okay. It's a third-person action game where you're playing as this Acme agent in training. Maybe one day I'll play it. Like I said, a lot of these games are cheap. $7, $8 and under. Such as this one, The Hobbit. This one actually has, does it? This came from the Trading Post. Oh, it doesn't. These came with like a collectible card. I thought it was in there. Maybe it still is. But it's The Hobbit. You're playing through The Hobbit. The book. This would have been well before those Peter Jackson movies came out. This came from the Video Game Trading Post. Mystery Exile. It's Myst. Classic adventure, kind of point and click adventure game with CG, with actual live scenes here, as you can see. Brad Dourif, that's his name, right? Voice of Chucky, he was in Deadwood. He's been in a shit ton of stuff. He was Wormtongue, actually, in The Lord of the Rings. He's been in a ton of shit. Actually, should say his name. Maybe not. It's Myst. If you're into Myst and these kind of games, you're going to enjoy it. Brothers in Arms, Road to Hill 30. I believe this is the first one. I haven't played this one. I did play Hell's Highway on the 360, and it was such a cool game. It's like a strategy first-person shooter. It's in first person, isn't it? But you're like commanding your squad to do stuff, and like the fights in these games, I would assume it's the same in these. It's intense. It's almost a little slow paced because you got to be smart. It actually feels more like what you would think a battle in World War II would feel like. It's not like the Call of Duties where you're just like running and blowing everybody away. These ones, it's like this strategy, and you have to like pace yourself and shit, which is really cool. Bloodwake. This was a launch title, I believe. It's a boat combat game. It's pretty fun. It can get boring quickly, but it is fun to play in kind of smaller doses. It was this and Reckless, the Yakuza missions. I think both were launch titles. But then Reckless, the Yakuza missions ended up coming to the other systems as well. This never did. And there's that, only on Xbox. Pirates of the Caribbean. No, this is not based off the movie. I do not think it is. It's Bethesda, though. I wanted it because it's open world, pirate action, so I picked it up. Haven't given it a go yet. Under the Reckoning. This is like an X-Men Legends, Diablo, Baldur's Gate, shit like that. Sacred. All those top-down games. Gauntlet was kind of the original, I would think, or one of the originals. I told the story about this game I originally had. I was playing the shit out of it, and all of a sudden, I'm at a part, and all of a sudden, the Xbox is like, it starts grinding. I'm like, what the fuck? I'm like, system, don't be busted. The game never worked again. But the system was fine. That was weird. I don't know. It's a defect, I suppose, but it's like a horror. It's like a horror type game. You're fighting all types of creatures and shit. But it was fun. There was a second one, Redeemer, I believe. This was 4-player as well. I never played 4 players. Like I said, I got it because it was a cool game. The price wasn't bad. I never got to finish it back then because it's time to shit the bed. That's obviously just a defect or something because that never ever happened with that Xbox again. Blood Omen 2 is actually one of the first games I had on the original Xbox. The first one was Max Payne. Then there was Pirates: The Legend of Black Cat, and this might have been the third game I had. There might have been something in there as well, like in between Max Payne and Pirates: The Legend of Black Cat. I don't know. Cool game. It's Blood Omen 2. It's not made by the same people who made the first one. The first one on PlayStation is a top-down game. But it's still cool. You still have the same characters. You got Kane here. You play as... I think you're going up against the Sarafan Lords. But there's some kind of like other... almost like alien things or some shit. I forget. But you get a cool vampire. He like awakens from whatever hundreds of years later, and vampires are like on the brink of being done. And you end up getting new powers back, teleportation, mind control, shit like that. Combat's pretty fun. The voice acting in these games is just this is some of the best you're gonna get in any video game, even the ones now. Because this one, and even like the Soul Reaver games, which is Raziel, and then Legacy of Kain Defiance is both of them. Because in the first Soul Reaver, Raziel's a vampire too. You find out more about his actual history and later, I think, Defiance maybe. But Kain, he grows his wings before Kain, and then Kain throws him into the abyss of doom, or whatever, and he turns into this creature, and then the Elder God grabs him. That was the cool part of Kain ends up down there. Raziel already knows what the Elder God looks like. Kain ends up down there, and he's like bugging out. He's like, what the hell? This is what people believe. And he's like a giant kind of Cthulhu type thing. Giant tentacles and eyes and shit. It's a really cool game. It's a cool game series. Gladius. I've talked about Gladius probably too much. It's underrated. It's a phenomenal turn-based strategy game. It's so good. You use Valens or Ursula, and eventually you'll meet up with each other, and they're both in the party. The that are always there until, I won't spoil anything, until something that happens later in the game. There's different classes of enemies, there's ranged enemies, big brute enemies, faster quick ones, like the stealthy ones, the rogue type enemy things. You fight animals and stuff as well, and kind of like witches and shit, and other gladiators and barbarians. I think Ursula and her brother are barbarians or some shit. The thing is, obviously the main character dies, it's over. When you lose in the gladiatorial school, in the schools, when you go across the game world, they're just knocked out. And you could build up someone you recruit for hours, and then they die in the open world, and they're gone. So you gotta be smart with that. It's an awesome game, though. Metal Arms, here comes the games that I got that G-Sale. Metal Arms Glitch in the System, another underrated game in my opinion. Not that it didn't review well, same thing with Gladius, but I feel like it didn't sell that well and was kind of overlooked. The only thing I really remember about this game is that it is super, like, shit is blowing up, robots are blowing up and shit. You play as a Glitch, and you're just getting better weapons, you're blasting stuff up. I think you can control, you can hijack other robots and shit. There are vehicle stuff in here as well. It was just a super fun game. I was so happy to see this at this garage. This is like a $25, $30 game. It's in great condition. Check that out if you haven't. Silent Hill 4 The Room. Out of those first four Silent Hills, the first four that people consider the Silent Hill experience, I've said I like Origins, I like Shattered Memories, I liked Downpour, I did not like Homecoming. And I'm one of the few that apparently liked the last message, the short message. Sorry, I forgot the name of it. This is my second favorite, though, behind 2 out of those first 4. This game has the second best story behind 2 as well. I think this originally was not supposed to meant to be a Silent Hill game, and then they just turned it into one. What was his name? Henry Townsend. Yes. He wakes up in his room, and there's locks all over the doors. He can't get out of his room. His apartment, I should say, not his room. But and he's walking around, all of a sudden there's the stuff inside the room's in first person, too, which is kind of cool. See, they did some of this at the end of the short message. The chains on the door, when you had to find those pictures. And then there's a hole. I think the hole's in the bathroom. You crawl through it, you end up at different parts. You end up in like the forest. There's a prison area, subway, shit like that. And then the classic Silent Hill enemies, even though those are all new enemies at this point for this game. I don't know if they brought anybody, but the dogs were back. I mean, you just look at the back here. Like this shot in particular. Oh god, this one. It's just classic, bizarre, creepy Silent Hill fucking shit. And then you come across, what's her name? Does it say it on here? Elena, or I don't know, I forget her name. She's her roommate. You keep peeping through this hole in your thing, and there's a Robbie the Rabbit from 3 in there. And the more you peep in it, and then like there's one time you peep where the rabbit's on the bed and then he's turning and pointing at you. But if the more damage she takes throughout the course of the game that you're with her, it depends on how the ending you're gonna get. It's a really cool game. The story's about Walter Sullivan, I believe, right? And he thinks the room's like his mother, his child version of himself. Because Walter Sullivan's brought up in 2, I think, is like the serial killer. It's like his child part of him, and he thinks the room's his mother and all this. It's a good story. It's fucking real. It's a great game. X-Men Legends, same thing as like Under the Reckoning. Same kind of game, except you're using all the X-Men characters in this one. I did play a little bit of it. It's cool. It has kind of a cell shady type of look. If you're into like X-Men, you're gonna love it. If you're into top-down games like that, Diablo shit, you're gonna love it. This is just a regular generic shooter, Halo. No, I'm just kidding. It's one of the best shooters ever made. It's Halo. Still my favorite in the franchise. And that I do not think is an unpopular opinion. I think a lot of people still regard the original as the best. I've said it a million times. It's a horror shooter. It's like a sci-fi horror shooter. You're starting off as Master Chief. You're taking on the Covenant. All of a sudden, there's mission comes in, creepy ass music. It's creepy vibe and atmosphere. Oh shit, here comes the fucking flood. You're like, what is happening? And back then, that kind of stuff didn't get leaked. You know, so you were like, what the hell? I'm getting these little freaking creatures turning people into freaking giant flood enemies and shit. And it's cool because you'll see the Covenant fighting the flood. It's just classic shooter, big open areas that you're running through and stuff. Like, it's such a good game. Obviously, Master Chief's a classic character. You get to use some vehicles in this one, Covenant and UNSC vehicles as well. There was multiplayer in there where you could actually, if you had 2 TVs and 2 Xboxes, you could do like the system link and play actually 8 players, which is kind of interesting. Definitely for the time. On the console, at the very least. And it looked really nice at the time. Like, this was a launch title, too. And I knew what Halo was, but I was like, I don't know. I'm gonna get, like, stuff like Max Payne, even though that was new, too. And then my friend's like, yo, you gotta play this game. He let me borrow it, and I was like, holy shit. And the controller, you use both sticks to control the vehicles, so it takes a little to get used to, but it's Halo, and it's awesome. Turok Evolution. I still need to give this one a shot. A lot of people said they liked it. So eventually I have to give this one a play. It's actually a pretty cool cover. I might have did it on a review. I don't know. Hitman 2 Silent Assassin. This is one of the Xbox games I got from that stuff from my friend. I'm pretty sure I played some of this, and the cool thing about these games is I'm pretty sure like it was this one like you could find your way to assassinate, get the execution on an enemy. There wasn't like one specific way you had to do it. I remember like I think it was this one where you could like be the chef and poison the turkey and shit like that. You could have did it another way. It's a stealthy game. You're taking people out, wearing different disguises, stuff like that. I haven't played a ton of the franchise, admittedly, and I know there's a ton of these games, but from when I played this one, it was fun. Circus Maximus. This is one of the garage sale pickups. I have not tried it yet, but this might have been a launch title too, or it came out very. It says 2001, so if it wasn't a launch title, it came out early. If this isn't it, it's just a chariot-based kind of combat game, like a racing game. I saw it there, and I was always looking at that game. I was like, oh shit, I'll get it. Panzer Dragoon Order. This was like, well, I sold Dead or Alive, Extreme Beach Volleyball, and that sold for like $35. This is around the same. This was the one that I saw, and I was like, oh shit, because I had this back in the day. This is my only experience with the series. There it is, again, only on Xbox. That's why a lot of people said the original Xbox was like the spiritual successor to the Dreamcast, because Sega put so many of those games on it. This, Jet Set Radio Future, Shenmue 2 they brought over to the Xbox. There was Gun Valkyrie. What else? They were bringing like just a lot of these kind of games over. This is a cool on-rail shooter though, where you have to, I guess, drag it on. You start off, you get broken at. You're the girl, and you get broken at prison, and you're moving the thing all around, and then it goes up and down. You go around the thing, enemies and stuff like that, depending on what you're fighting. It's fun, and it still looks really good at the time. This was like an amazing looking game. Dr. Muto, still haven't played it. Some people said this was a good one too. This is another one that came from the garage sale. Brute Force also came from the garage sale. I wanted to pick. This is not an overly expensive game, but I liked it back when it came out. Unfortunately, it was getting touted as like another Halo, which I don't know why the hell they were doing that. This is third person, but you could play it 4-person co-op. But it was a fun game. The AI was really good in this game. I'm kind of breezing through it here now. Beyond Good and Evil. Played a little bit of it. A lot of people loved this game, and then they ended up re-releasing it at some point. In HD, maybe. He plays, what's her name, Jade? Yeah, like a photographer, and, the government or whatever, the world's fucked up. It's another one I got at the garage sale, though. Here's the other game that came from my friend and stuff. Sega GT 2002 and Jet Set Radio Future. I did have this pack back in the day. Pretty decent racing game, but I'm not into them. I played some of this. I know it was a Jet Grind Radio on the Dreamcast. Really cool art style in those games. I should say games or whatever. Did they ever make? I thought they made another one at some point. Star Wars portion. Knights of the Republic, one of the best games on the console. It also came out on PC at the time, and now it's bouncing around, of course. But just a great, kind of turn-based, strategy, the different kind of RPG where you're running around, but you're controlling everybody. You're leveling up people. You go to different worlds and shit like that. Pretty good, story. It takes place like 4,000 years before the original trilogy, so you can customize your lightsabers, and you have different characters in your party, different weapons, all that shit. And you can go from dark to light side depending on what you're doing throughout the game, choices you make and stuff. This was a BioWare game, right? Yeah. Jedi Academy. Jedi Knight 2, sorry. Jedi Outcast. Jedi Academy is the first one. This is first person and third person, but, same kind of cool Star Wars type stuff. These games got re-released too. I think you can buy 2 packs of these on all the systems now. I haven't played much of it. Star Wars Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. So you use Obi-Wan and Anakin in this one. You play through the movie. I think there's actually movie scenes in it. Pretty fun action in it. It's not great, but it's pretty solid. For sure. I think there's a part in this game where, like, you see what happens. Like, if Anakin ends up killing, you kill Obi-Wan and then you kill the Emperor. Some shit, I forget. Jedi Starfighter. This Graw Shell pick up like 3 or 4 years ago for $1. Not in the best shape. It's a plain combat game. Vehicle combat. Game space. You're on planets as well. You're playing with all the things from episode 2, I believe. Yeah. It's actually pretty decent. I had this back in the day. I actually know because I got this, and I think it was Quantum Redshift from the Best Buy out here in Bayshore. That's still there. And we're going to end it with some Prince of Persia games. Sands of Time. Best of the 3 that came out on those consoles. Just a sick, this was like, Prince of Persia's back. It's in 3D now. And it's just awesome. Fluid gameplay, cool fighting. Just when you're doing everything and it works. You're like running through a wall. Running on the wall, doing some raw running. Jumping, grabbing like a pillar. Doing this. It's a cool game. It looked really good for the time as well. Then the Warrior Within, they made him more angsty and angry, as you can tell here. Same kind of stuff though, same kind of combat, same kind of action you're doing. I didn't play this game complete though. I still haven't played this one yet. The third one on the series, 2 Thrones. It's like Dark and Light Prince, like, these other games that do that kind of shit. 1 Warrior, 2 Souls. It's actually chariot racing type stuff in this one, but I need to play this one at some point. But yeah, that's my original Xbox collection. I do want to add to it still. Not an insane amount, but there are definitely at least 15 to 20 more games I wouldn't mind having for it. If I come across them at a good price, I'm not going to go nuts. But yeah, thanks for checking this out, and have a good day.